Welcome to the Help Her Be Brave podcast show, where we have great ideas on how you can help save lives. I'm Amy Ford.
And I'm Jessica Russo.
And today we're going to be talking to my friend Herb, who is really amazing. He runs an organization called Lifeline. And, you know, working in the pro-life movement can be sometimes kind of messy, hard. Then there's stories that like inspire you and move you and like help you feel excited about what we do. And then there's some days it's like, okay, that was
where you just go
hard.
home grieved.
Yeah. And I feel like Lifeline is kind of one of those organizations like Embrace Grace where it could be like that, where you just, they get a lot of different stories, girls that place their babies for adoption, maybe girls that lose their kids through the CPS, but their heart to reunify and to
restore the family,
get them back on their feet, and even their heart for adoptive parents and helping them through that. And because that can be hard too, especially getting, if you weren't expecting it or getting sometimes a child through foster care, it can be really hard. And there's a lot of intricacies involved. And so they are just so great about all encompassing, helping families. Hey, Herb, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing so great, Amy. Thanks for having me today. It's such a blessing and honor to be with you.
Yeah. Well, we so appreciate it because we just love what you guys do. I recently actually both me and Jessica, we were went and toured a pregnancy center together with one of your team members, and she articulated so well the heart and the vision behind what you guys do. Mm-hmm. And by the end of, she was really talking more to the pregnancy centers. And by the end of it, I was like, I'm sold. On the way you guys do things, the way you empower birth moms and just the dignity and the honor and just things I've never even thought of with Lifeline. So thank you so much for being on. So I'd love for you to first just share with us, like, what made you passionate about helping in this way?
Yeah, so, it really all started at our dining room table. My sweet wife, Ashley, her dream was to be a part of the Crisis Pregnancy Center and to minister to women going through crisis pregnancies. As a high school student, she walked through many unplanned pregnancies with friends, mentored them, loved on them, cared for them. And, probably not a lot of people go to college thinking, I want to do something so that I can help women that are going through unplanned and crisis pregnancies. But she did, and that was her goal and her aim. And so, quite candidly, I graduated with a master's in business administration, a concentration in accounting, and my wife graduated with helping professions. I became a CPA, and she became a world changer in a crisis pregnancy center here in Birmingham, Alabama. And so my journey, obviously supporting her, but I thought, that's my role, is to support her. But she would come home and she would talk about these incredible women that she had met in her center and tell their stories of perseverance, their stories of going against all odds, against their family, against their support system, and choosing life. But then she'd also bring me the sad stories, the stories of women that she didn't know how they were going to make it. She didn't know what would happen. And we just, honestly, we started praying for these ladies, started praying for these women. And as happens, when we begin praying intentionally, the Lord starts to change our hearts too. And he just really softened me vocationally to, well, how could I do something intentional? How could I join forces with my wife? And we really reach out to these vulnerable women and vulnerable children. And what the Lord was really doing for us is, I think we started in this ministry, or at least I did. Hey, how many children can we see saved as Ashley is going into the center and counseling these women? And what we came away with was, yes, how many kids' lives can we save, but how many women's lives can we see impacted by the gospel, and can we see their lives changed and their trajectory changed? And that just launched out into 2003 when an opportunity came available at a sister ministry of the Crisis Pregnancy Center called Lifeline. And they brought me on, and I don't know what they were thinking. I can only say I had a burden with the hope of the gospel and what the Lord was calling me to do, and the Lord has used it in a powerful way.
That's so cool. I love that. Okay, so share a little bit about, or a lot, about what all you guys do at Lifeline and how does it work?
Yeah, so, I mean, even going back to that story around the dinner room, the dining room table, one of the things that really attracted us to Lifeline was Save a Life, which is the crisis pregnancy center where my wife was working. She actually was the pregnancy test center director, and she oversaw all 40 centers. So she had, they had 40 satellite centers throughout Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, and actually one in Dallas, Texas. And so she would get their numbers, and she was kind of the centralized person for all of them. And Lifeline as a ministry was actually founded at the same time as the Crisis Pregnancy Center to offer adoption services, but more than anything to kind of go long-term discipleship. So both of these ministries were started in 1980, 1981. And at that time, a Crisis Pregnancy Center was really, confirming pregnancy, evangelical, sharing the gospel, and really more than that, trying to get them to commit to choose life. And Lifeline was more of the discipleship arm of that. So once they've confirmed pregnancy, they would come to Lifeline. We would walk them through their pregnancy. We had a maternity home. We were walking with women. So our aim was never to help women with adoption. Our aim was to walk women through their pregnancy. And if adoption was their end goal, we would help them with that as well. And we were going to recruit missional Christian families from the church that would love on these children. But yes, even in the 1980s, would love on these women. And so in a lot of ways, Lifeline was doing what was now called open adoption before it was ever really even popular, and in some ways before it was ever even acknowledged, because we wanted our families to be an instrument of change, not just for the child, but also for the woman. And so the ministry's grown over the last 40 years. We work internationally with the local church, caring for orphans through strategic orphan care. We help the local church adopt. So we're doing indigenous, what we would call from the U.S. indigenous adoption, helping local believers in countries around the world adopt domestically. And then we also have intercountry adoption, where we're helping families adopt those kids that there are no permanency options for them in country, helping them find permanency through intercountry adoption. Then we also do foster care here in the United States. And yes, we do regular placement with placing kids into Christian families through foster care, but the crux of ours is actually restoration and reunification. So what we want to help is help actually these kids get out of foster care back into their biological families where it's safe, healthy, and it's in the best interest of the child. And so we have something called Families Count. We work with local churches, and those local churches come alongside of families that have lost their kids to foster care. They mentor them, teach them how to become a good parent, teach them budgeting skills, life skills, so that they can ultimately get their children back from state care. To date, we've helped over 3,000 families through Families Count, and all of that is through local churches. So that's not yes, the program of Lifeline, but the arm of that program is the church. So all 3,000 of those families have gone to a local church in over 17 states. So you're talking about families going into churches and getting this. So actually very similar to Embrace Grace, where a lot of your curriculum is in local churches because you believe that's the instrument to change. We believe the same thing for restoration and foster care. The church has got to be the restoration for change. And then last, and I know that's a lot, we also do counseling and education. And so we believe when families are on the journey to adopt or foster, that their aim and their goal is to reach the heart and the mind of their child. And we know a lot of times when these kids come from trauma-informed backgrounds or from hard places, they bring in some baggage into these homes. And we want to help counsel and equip and educate those families to deal with that past trauma, to be able to handle some of that baggage so that ultimately they can reach the heart of that child, ultimately for Christ, but also to help change the trajectory of their life.
What if we lived in a world where every woman with an unplanned pregnancy always felt empowered to choose life for her and her unborn baby? Well, get your copy of Help Her Be Brave to discover your place in the pro-life movement and put your passion into action. To order your book and to learn more about the Help Her Be Brave initiative, visit www.helpherbebrave.com.
Yeah, that's so awesome because that's something they can never or not usually afford on their own. That's so, that's just something that they can't connect to. And I love that we have similar hearts about the church being the answer. And I know we have the manpower on our side if we're all just doing something, using some of our strengths, gifts, passions. I always say, what makes you pound your fist on the table and say, someone needs to do something about this. And I know that when people feel that way, they really need to follow what that is, because usually that's something that God's putting on their heart to do. And I love that he did this for you and your wife, and that you guys followed that and were obedient. And now look at 3,000, people affected is so
It's huge.
huge. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And how do the girls find you that maybe are pregnant and need help? Do they connect to you through pregnancy centers or direct?
So, we definitely our number one way that women find us is through pregnancy centers. And so we want to maintain good relationships with pregnancy centers. One of the things we really also want to do now is we were founded out of the Crisis Pregnancy Center movement. So we have a love and a kinship for crisis pregnancy centers. For those that are listening, I truly believe they are on the front line of the abortion debate in our country, right there, meeting the women where they are, confirming pregnancy, doing ultrasounds, showing the heartbeat, praying, evangelizing on the front lines. So we love to come alongside of those crisis pregnancy centers and support what they're doing, help them, become a resource for them. So a lot of our referrals still come out of the crisis pregnancy center. We do have direct referrals that are coming to us either through the web, also through doctors' offices, through hospitals. We have hospital social workers that know about us. We have doctors' offices that know about us. We really do prefer to work with those crisis pregnancy centers because we feel like there's a kinship and a partnership where there's a concentric circle that we're placing around those women. So where appropriate, we actually, when we get referrals from other places, we try to also connect them back to a local crisis pregnancy center. As that movement has grown and they're caring more holistically for a woman throughout her pregnancy, we never want any woman we work with to feel like that our end goal is for her to place her child for adoption. Our end goal is for her to do and to be empowered to make the best life choice for her child. If that happens to be adoption, we ultimately want to place that with a missional Christian family that we're able to work with. But if they feel called to become a single mom or to parent that child, we want to make sure they're getting the best resources possible. So our heartbeat is to empower women towards life choices. And if adoption is that life choice, we want to help provide that for her. So that's why we love working with crisis pregnancy centers, because we believe there's someone that's always going to pick that cycle up. At the same time, we want to work with these women throughout their pregnancy anyway. So we still work with women that are choosing to parent, helping them get the resources they need. Maybe where there's not an appropriate ministry for us to partner with in that, we want to walk them through that. We want to walk women that have placed. We make a commitment to walk out life with them. So we have women that placed 30 years ago that still call, receive counseling and support from the ministry. We want to love on these women and make a long-term commitment to them as well as to the children. And then, certainly we believe it or not, after 40 years, we have word of mouth. We also have had, children or women who placed a child for adoption who now have a child, so that's being a grandchild that's being placed, and I think that's a good testimony. I mean, it's sad, obviously, but there's also a good testimony that they felt like they were cared for well, and so they've referred others to us as well.
Yes.
That's so awesome. Well, what is there a story that sticks out to you of one of these moms that got supported and equipped and empowered through you guys?
Yeah, so being put on the spot, the story that always comes to mind, and probably just because it's so dramatic.
It's your favorite.
There was a young lady it was in Alabama. She was in South Alabama, and she called us, and it was one of those calls that really it takes your breath away. And I know for folks that work with folks in trauma or are in a helping profession, a lot of times you do get calls for help that are utilizing the system, that are fake, or I hate to say it, they're making up something to 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 pull at your empathy and your compassion in order to help. It's funny, when we got this call, no one ever thought that it could not be true, but we instantly were sprung to action, and we received a call from a young lady in a hotel room in South Alabama who was being held against her will. Uh, According to what she said, and I will tell you now, later was collaborated by medical professionals, is that she probably would see anywhere between 10 and 15 people a day. Um, Knowing her body, at some point she realized that she was pregnant, and she had actually worked with Lifeline years before, ended up parenting that child. That child was taken from her when she developed a drug addiction. She was later prostituted, and that's what was happening in South Alabama out of this hotel. And she had the presence of mind, and she remembered our number, and she called us. And we went on a 24-hour vigil of getting her out of that hotel room, even to the point where I posed as a customer in order to get through to her and to get her uh, the information on how we were going to free her and rescue her. Ended up talking to the pimp on the phone as a customer, got the information, so many details of the story, but we were able to get her the information. Had a taxi cab come out at 1 a.m., which is when we learned was kind of the downtime. She was able to get in that taxi cab, get on a bus. We met her at 5 a.m. the next morning, having no idea if this young lady would actually show up. She showed up. We got her into our maternity home. She chose adoption for this child. But the thing I love about this story, and we'll call this lady Barbara. Barbara actually ended up becoming a bank teller in the city where our maternity home is. And friends, she is a bank manager at the same bank in the same place. And this is over 10 years ago.
Wow.
I love that story.
That's amazing.
Because, and so many things obviously that were missing, but to see all the things and all the pieces, the church was involved. She's still engaged with the church that started ministering to her when we brought her in. A lady that was rescued out of this. And I don't know if she'd have called us if she hadn't been pregnant. But because she was pregnant, she had the presence of mind to remember the 800 number, to call us, to get up, to have a home, a safe place where she could be. And now she's doing well. She's married. She has 2 children, and her life is completely different. And so that's a story that comes. There's so many others as I even tell her story that come to mind. But the refrain, Amy, that I know you guys hear, and we certainly hear for so many of these women, is they say, I've cried out all my life, or I've run away all my life, but no one's ever no one's ever come to find me, and no one's listened when I've cried. Wow. And when they embrace grace, when they feel the grace of God, when they feel the love that comes through the hands of Christ to his church and through his people, they come before God and they go, this is a God that chased me, and this is a God that listens when I cry. And so to God be the glory for the fruit in the lives of these women and the lives of these children.
For sure.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm still stuck on, did you say that you went as a pimp or as a client?
He posed.
Yeah, all we had was
wish I was a fly in the wall in this situation.
So all we had was the number for the hotel where she was staying. And we knew the room number in the hotel. So I called and asked for the room number. And when the answer, actually the guy's name was Red. Maybe I shouldn't say that. That was really the name he used. And so Red answers. He introduces himself as Red.
Red needs to go to jail,
it was one of
so
those split-second moments. Like, what do you do? And so I instantly acted like I was a client and got information. And he said, well, it's like only a God thing. He said, well, if you decide to do this, I won't be back for another 2 hours.
Oh my
goodness. I'm about to leave in about 30 minutes. So an hour later, I called back. I got Barbara, let's call her Barbara, got her on the phone, told her who I was, told her what we were going to do. And
that's amazing.
The rest was history.
That is creative, dramatic, and
only God.
Yeah, really cool.
Like God used that pregnancy to save her life.
Yeah, for sure. and gave her just a clear mind and a
Yes.
moment to be able to remember and find the phone number and all of that. So cool.
Wow.
Well, what are some, like, for people that are listening out there and super interested in what you guys are doing, what are ways that people can volunteer or get connected and involved with Lifeline?
Yeah, so you can always go to our website. It's lifelinechild.org. So lifelinechild.org. And on the website, you can find all the different ways and kind of those 5 areas of ministry you can get engaged and get involved. For wherever you are, if we can help you with direct services that maybe you or your family needs, we certainly want to provide those. We also have a network of resources where we don't maybe provide services that we can help you find those services. We always need folks in all 50 states to participate with our Families Count program. We always need folks who are willing to mentor and love on birth mothers. And we need churches that are willing to welcome these birth mothers and these families in. We need churches that will be safe places where they can love on these families and love on these women. And so there's lots of different ways. Actually, there's a section about how to get involved, volunteer, how to serve. We'd love to invite folks to volunteer and to serve wherever they may be. And certainly, I know it sounds trite, but I don't mean it as trite. We need people to pray. We need people to pray for us. We need people to pray for these women. We need people to pray for these children. You know, the Lord really burdened my wife Ashley and I's heart several years ago because we always ask people to pray. And then we started really thinking back, honestly, to the dinner table, you know, some 20 years ago now, where we were praying for these women. And we wondered if we hadn't have been praying for them, was there anyone else that was praying for them? You know, these women, like, did they have families that prayed for them? And now, especially I'm a dad. I have a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. Every night I pray over them. If I'm with them, I pray over them audibly. If I'm not with them, I'm praying for them. I'm asking the Lord to watch over them and to help them find Him and see Him and seek Him and love Him and to save them from, you know, damaging sin. And we started to be convicted. Who's praying for the most vulnerable? Who's praying by name for the women who are vulnerable and coming into their crisis pregnancy centers? Who's praying for children around the world and here at home that are vulnerable and have no one else to pray for them? So I just would want to invite folks to pray. Change the way you pray. Like, pray for, and if you get the opportunity to know them by name, pray for the vulnerable by name. Pray for vulnerable women who are going into abortion clinics today, this week, this month. Pray that the Lord would open the blinders off their eyes and show them the way to life. Pray for vulnerable women and pray for vulnerable children and pray for ministries like Embrace Grace and Lifeline and so many others that are doing this work to try to bring life to these women.
Amen.
Yes, a million times.
That's so good. And donate. You guys can go to Lifeline. Yes. What was your website again? lifelinechild.org, right?
That's right, lifelinechild.org.
And donate, get involved. See, they're in 17 states, but they have ways to get involved even if you're not in one of the 17 states that they're in, and get connected to what they're doing. And so, Herb, thank you so much for being on today and sharing with us about what all you guys are doing. Y'all are amazing.
Well, we're thankful for you guys in the ministry that you do. And certainly I know that most people who are listening know about Embrace Grace. But truly, I hope more churches will embrace what you are doing and really shelter these women with love, the love boxes, the depth of the gospel ministry that you guys are doing. And just so grateful that the Lord burdened your heart, Amy, for this and to see how it's blossomed.
Oh, thank you. We feel the same way about you guys. All right, Herb, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week.
I'm not going to lie. I got a bit choked up about Barbara's story. I know he condensed that down and there was a lot of details in that. I can only imagine the millions of details.
The intensity.
Yes.
Of that moment of
that
oh my
moment.
God, did she get in the cab?
And they're sitting there anticipating, is she safe? Is she really coming? How is she going to arrive here? What state is she going to be in? And it's just such a beautiful picture of God's relentless love for us. He just chases us down and helps us out of situations that we have put ourselves into, but he loves us just the same. And I just thought that was so beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. And how it sounds like it took a lot of different people and a lot of different moving parts and everyone working together to just not only save that baby's life, but to save
her.
the mama's life too, and to get her back on her feet and get her safe. And it's just awesome. And that's just one of thousands of stories of women that they've helped. And so they are such a great organization. And I encourage everyone that's listening, please connect to what they're doing. They are boots on the ground, helping these women and their families and their babies and just everyone connected to the family. So check them out. Also, if you want more ideas on how you can help women be brave and choose life, you can get my new book, Help Her Be Brave, Discover Your Place in the Pro-Life Movement, that's available on Amazon. And also there's Audible, and also through embracegrace.com. You can get it on our shop. So check that out. Hundreds of ideas. And then also keep listening to this podcast. If you just started listening, go back. We have a lot of great podcasts that we've put out so far with great ideas and how to get involved. And then go to helperbebrave.com and reach out to us and let us know if you have even a new idea or a way that you're creatively helping women. We want to hear about that. So reach out to us, connect to us. Also subscribe to YouTube, iTunes, Spotify to hear this podcast message. Please spread the message to your friends. Tell them to listen and subscribe, because the more people that we can get involved in the pro-life movement, the more lives we can save and the more that we can make abortion unthinkable. So just thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week.